A fundraiser for the Israeli university, the Technion, was forced to move venue at the last minute after staff at the Apollo Theatre in central London refused to work that evening due to an appearance by Douglas Murray. There were also protests outside the theatre and threats emailed to the staff. Joining me right now to discuss this is author Douglas Murray. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Julia.
Thank you very much. Always so good to talk to you. Right, I mean, this was an event moved at the 11th hour, thankfully not cancelled, but it was able to take place. Who wasn't happy? I'm wondering, it's going to be an absolute mystery, isn't it? Who wasn't happy with you, an author, a journalist, speaking out at a fundraiser? Who wasn't happy about you appearing and why?
Well, the event was meant to go ahead at the Apollo Theatre on Shaftesbury Avenue. It was sold out. And it was, as you say, to raise funds for students at an Israeli university, many of whom have been called up in wartime and their education has been completely disrupted. And so, yes, it was a conversation that I was being interviewed by the actress Louisa Klein. And it was going to be a warm and happy event. And a group of staff at the theatre said apparently they felt unsafe about the event. Then something very sinister occurred. The CEO of NYMAX, who is herself Jewish, started to get scared, it seems. She called in staff from another theatre, and one of her own staff leaked the emails of the people who were going to work as ushers and so on the evening. And then they themselves dropped out from fear. By this time,
did they actually receive emails threatening them if they appeared to work at the event?
That's not clear to me. Actually, at the moment, it's interesting. It's nowadays, as you know, Julia, in our country, it seems even the threat of a threat is enough to make people cancel an event. And I, at any rate, don't respect that at all. My view, if a theatre receives threats about an event that's ongoing, there's one thing they do, which is they call the Metropolitan Police and they say, your job is to protect this venue and make sure that the evening passes off safely. But they didn't do that. They just, as cowards as they are, cancelled the event. Fortunately...
And this was only last night. This was hours before the event.
Hours before the event. The idea that the theatre wasn't prepared to stand up for the freedom of speech, which our forebears laid down their lives to ensure that we, their descendants, got, is to me absolutely outrageous. Sometimes, you know, Julia, I don't recognize our country anymore. It's filled with Islamists parading around the streets praising terrorists and cowards in all positions in public life.
But there's a very big difference, isn't there, between, you're on minimum wage working in a cinema as an usher. You've been asked to go work somewhere else. You've been told your email's been leaked. Pro-Palestinians reports claiming that there were threats. Again, we can't verify that. And you're thinking, is this really my fight? Now, I can understand wanting to stand up and saying, no, this is my fight, freedom of speech. But for a lot of people, they go, no. But it is the venue, it is the venue, owners and managers who should be standing up. We've seen this again and again, whether it's a cinema showing a film that some people of Islamic faith don't like, whether it's, in fact, it actually happens again and again for women standing up for our gender critical beliefs, that trans women are not women, and people being, again, no, that you can't be housed by that. Comedy, when people just want to just say the most basic stuff that is just known to be true and basically losing the venue. This has become a common occurrence.
Yes, it has, Julia. And frankly, if you work in a theatre, your job is to open the theatre and your job is to ensure that the show goes on. That's it. Now, as you say, 18, 19-year-old ushers. Now, maybe we shouldn't rely on them to be the most sturdy members of society. But you know what? I do expect that, actually. I do expect people to turn up and do their job. Because otherwise, and I think this is one of the things that happened on this occasion, otherwise, all you need is some malevolent actor saying, I don't feel safe, and then the whole venue collapses and the whole event is cancelled, as in this occasion. We've seen this at publishing houses. There was some kid at one of the publishing houses who were going to publish J.K. Rowling's The Ichabod, which is for, I think, 8-year-olds. And somebody in the staff, junior member of staff, said that his non-binary friend could be affected by this. And on the basis of that, he tried to get the publishing house to drop J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
And, you know, I
Funnily enough,
said
it
at the
didn't
time,
work. Yeah.
yeah, I know, amazingly enough. Well, on that occasion, it didn't work, but many other publishing houses actually would have caved
Yep.
because we live in a society, it seems to me, where the kids dictate to the adults and the adults have all vacated the room.
But it's only occasionally when there is someone who stands up. For instance, over the Dave Chappelle special on Netflix, and being accused of being transphobic. Nothing he said that's remotely transphobic in any of his specials. And Netflix staff going outside and protesting. And Netflix, I think we were all surprised by this, saying, well, go and get another job if you don't like it, which is unusual and is what should be said. But the fundamental error here, though, is failure of the government and a failure of the Metropolitan Police and other police forces around the country to instantly say, we will be there in force. We will bring the riot shields.
Yes.
We will be there in force. The right to freedom of speech absolutely matters. Because it seems to me the only time the Metropolitan Police think the right to freedom of speech matters is if someone is shouting for jihad on a Saturday afternoon walking through London streets.
Well, that's one of the things, Julia, that I take away from this. This is why I say I don't recognize our country anymore. I really don't. I don't know why we have given in to Islamists and terrorists. I don't know why we've done it. Why is it that Saturday after Saturday, people parade through the streets of London calling for jihad, praising Hamas, praising terrorists, and clambering over and defiling our sacred war monuments? Why do they get to do that every Saturday, but I can't speak in a theatre on Shaftesbury Avenue to a packed theatre, mainly of Jews? Why is it that if you call for violence against Jews day after day on the streets of London, that's A-OK with the Metropolitan Police? But if Jews want to congregate in central London, apparently it's not okay, and we'll have to retreat to another venue. I'm not a victim here, and I'm not claiming any victimhood. I don't believe in that. I don't care. I'm not going to shut up. I'll continue. Country. London is my city, and I expect to be able to do what I want in my city. But why is it that we have Hamas supporters?
You know, Douglas is asking the exact right question and expressing his sentiments from his heart. And he's basically saying, this is my country, United Kingdom. He's saying, it's his city, my city, London. It's my town. Why is it that I am the one that why is it that I'm the one that's being persecuted? Why is it the one that my venues are being shut down? Why are my rights being abrogated? When you have Islamists and terrorists roaming the streets of London, defiling statues, just like you see over there in terms of where, the Free Palestine flags and the kids climbing up with the flag on top of the monuments. He's right. It's like upside down world. Right, right is wrong, wrong is right, up is down, down is up. I mean, it's just the complete opposite. There's anarchy, but it's in the other direction. It's not for the victims. It's the perpetrators are the ones that are being, allowed to flourish, allowed to do whatever they want to do. I thought they were laws, hate speech laws in England. They're marching in the streets. They're singing the tropes. They're singing the song from the river, the trope of the extermination of the Jewish people. Why is it that the Metropolitan Police, these cowards, they don't step up and do anything? But like you said, you stand up and you start shouting back at them. You're the one, because they're cowards. They don't want to do the right thing. That's just it's amazing. The same thing happens here in the United States, folks. The same thing happens here. There's stand down orders that occur to the police. Look at the Black Lives Matter movement. Those sons of bitches. Can you imagine? You know what happened there. Oh, it's their right, because they have pent up feelings for so many years. They've been, slaves. And the slaveholders, the masters, they've been oppressed. They're living in oppression. So they have this pent up aggression. So it's okay if they start burning down some buildings. Not some, many. Throwing bricks through buildings, looting, rioting, breaking into ATM, dragging away ATMs. TV stores, electronic stores, shoe stores, clothing stores, pharmacies. That's perfectly fine. The billions and billions of dollars of damage during BLM, the millions of dollars that were done during the President Trump's inauguration. People were arrested, but they were let go. January 6th rolls around, stand down orders that we're now being told, FBI infiltration inside there, all kinds of collusion going on, all kinds of entrapment, all kinds of stuff happening. But yet, guess what? These people, the J6ers, they're the ones that get thrown in jail for years because they just happen to be out there in the courtyard of the Capitol building. That shaman being led around the Capitol building by security and officers was put in jail for 4 years. Nobody saw the footage. Nobody believed anything about it. That, he's saying, I didn't break in. They led me through. It was a tour. What Douglas is saying, that he doesn't see what's happening. It's the same thing that's happening on this side of the pond, folks, here in the United States of America. Anyway, this is what we have on tap for you, folks. Thanks for watching. You're watching the Dr. Nasser Sheikh Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nasser, where I give you my political prescription from my political perspective of what happens when you get Douglas Murray to sit down and talk. And in this case, his event, the venue was canceled. They had to move to another location. Let's get back to more of the interview with Douglas right now.
Who defile our monuments, defile our country, hate our countries, literally spit on our country week after week. But you're not allowed to show solidarity with the Jews or with Israel. It's a despicable situation. And it's come about because of a generational cowardice by politicians of all parties and by the Metropolitan Police and others. I think it's appalling because I know one thing for sure, Julia. The people who hate the Israelis, the people who hate the Jews, the people who we're watching at the moment marching through central London, they hate Britain as much as they hate Israel. It's just that Britain is first. We're all going to be next. So I'd say stand up in whichever way you can. And if you're an usher in a theater, well, do your darn job. It's what you're employed for. But the idea that we have to keep giving in and that this society, of all societies, Julia, we used to be a resilient society in Britain. The country we were brought up in, our parents' generation, our grandparents' generation, were resilient people. We don't have to show that much resilience these days. We just need to show a bit of backbone. Where is it, Britain? Where have you gone?
But we gave up years ago on this. We know that the authorities, everyone is terrified of this threat. Charlie Hebdo onwards, Salman Rushdie, even before then, we didn't stand up. Our authorities didn't stand up. It was like, well, don't write books that are going to upset people in Iran then. Well, don't do cartoons. When a teacher 4 years ago in a religious studies class shows in the Batley Grammar School the images that Charlie Hebdo showed as a discussion point and then faces death threats, still in hiding 4 years later, the local MP never discussed it, won't go on the record, won't do anything. This happens again and again. The authorities are afraid. Why are they afraid? What are they afraid of?
Oh, they're afraid of Muslims. They're afraid of Muslim extremists. They're afraid of the Muslims taking to the streets and vastly outnumbering the police, which has happened on occasion after occasion. That's what happened. Then
Shouldn't moderate Muslims who didn't want to come and live in this country or were born in this country, who don't share those values, and I like to think the majority don't, shouldn't we all be in the streets and say, that's it, we will not put up with this anymore?
Well, I'm afraid what you call the moderate Muslims are notable by their absence, certainly notable in condemning their co-religionists when they call for jihad and much more. So I don't have any particular faith in that particular corner of society. But I do wonder, as I say, what has happened to everybody else. Last week, we had a Conservative MP stepping down because he said there are too many threats to his life and he just doesn't feel safe being in politics. And all these nincompoops in the Conservative Party and the other parties sort of said, oh, that's sad that that's happened. No, it's not sad. It's an outrage. It's an absolute outrage. And the police, I mean, last night in London, outside the theatre I was meant to speak at, a group of Islamists paraded up and down the streets, screaming through megaphones abuse at me. I don't care, but I think the Metropolitan Police ought to care.
Yes.
And also let's never forget, Julia, we are all being played in Britain. We are all being played. People like the ones you're watching at the moment, they wouldn't reciprocate and give us our rights to freedom of speech if they had the upper hand. Not a bit of it. These people would subjugate everybody. But they're trying everything they can now. They're pushing, as people like them always do. And I would like to see Britain to push back. I think it's high time we made it clear that we're not going to be pushed around endlessly. You know what? We have holy places as well. One of them is our war memorials, which are trampled upon week after week. You know what? I've heard enough of Islam's holy places. I've heard enough of Islam's feelings and the sensitive feelings of Muslims that dictate which films can be seen and which books can be written. Well, you know what? We're not very sensitive. I'm not very sensitive. But actually, I do have feelings as well. And my society has feelings.
But
and
again,
we don't like trampled
we
upon.
are a very tolerant society, but our tolerance is being used against us. We're tolerating intolerance. We need to make it very clear. As I say, if you want to live here, you have to come here to make your life here, or you are born here. If you do not share these values that we share, hold dear in terms of equality, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and well, I like to think most people in this country hold those. I do worry they don't anymore, or whatever religious faith, equality, etc. If you don't share those values, there are lots of countries that you can go and live in who share your values. If you want to live under Sharia law, if you want to have those sort of controls on people, fly free. But here,
scram.
Here, these are our values. But we don't stand up for our values in this country anymore. The government doesn't stand up for it. Everyone's embarrassed. Diversity is our strength, we're told. No, our strength is Western liberal values, our history, a character of our nation, the fact that we fought for democracy against fascism and won. That is where our strength is.
Yeah, absolutely. My forebears fought Nazism. The Nazis are back. They're wearing green bandanas and things now. And they want to, like they did last night, chase Jews out of public spaces in London. Well, no.
Not on my watch.
Absolutely not. Not on your watch, not on my watch. These people should scram. They should get out. We are being taken advantage of on an historic scale. And I'm not putting up with it. And I hope that the British public don't either.
Absolutely. Douglas Murray, it's always a pleasure to speak to
you. Douglas and Julia are so right. It also, makes me boil, makes me upset, makes me pissed off, makes me mad, because the same damn thing is occurring here in the United States of America. And you guys know it just as well as I do. And for those of you that don't agree with me, that are on the left, the progressives, the liberals, the leftists, the socialists, the Marxists, the Islamists, the Muslimists, whatever, screw you guys. Simply put, screw you guys, okay? Enough is freaking enough. We have to stand up for our rights. There are many people that do stand up for their rights, but there are so many others, okay, that want to erode those rights, that are giving in to this Islamofascism, this Islamist, theocracy that's there. These Islamists, these are racist, bigoted people, folks, and they're terrorists as well. Domestic terrorists, whatever you want to call them. And there will come a time when the people are going to say enough is enough. And if they don't like it here, why are you staying in the country? Why don't you go back to another country or another nation, wherever it is that you think, well, you know what? Maybe you don't have to deal with the Jewish people. Maybe you don't have to deal with the LGBTQIA MOUSC. I've got plenty of problems, okay, with the LGBTQIA MOUSC. I don't have a problem in terms that they're there. The problem that I have is that they want to slam and basically crush the yoke on my neck to basically, say that everything that they're doing is perfectly fine. So mine is not in terms of, it's with the movement. That's perfectly fine. I could care less. Do whatever you want in the comfort of your own home, house, whatever it is. But don't force me into your beliefs. If I don't want to believe that, that's fine. I have my opinions. I have my beliefs. I make them known. But I'm not forcing anybody not to do anything against their will. But this is eventually, folks, it's going to come to and then what happens is that it comes to a tipping point. It comes to a boiling point. And then you get groups of people that come up, and now you've got two opposing forces, and then things eventually come to a boil, and that's not what we want. But like the thing is, like Douglas said, scramola, get the hell out of there, move, leave, go someplace where you're not gonna be faced with all the situation that you think you are. But unfortunately, the government is a coward. The local politicians are cowards. The state and localities are cowards. The police department are cowards from the top. It's not the foot soldiers or the people that are on the ground. The everyday police patrol guy or woman that's on the street, that's in the squad car. It's not them. They're getting their marching orders, okay, from the penthouse. And those are the cowards. Those are the people that don't want to implement what's right. Anyways, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasser Shake Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasser. If you've been already, subscribe to the channel, like, share, and follow. You all know what to do. Put your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Do you agree or disagree? Our other video links are above and below. My final thought, as always, is that when you're right, and when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.